Hey, it's Amy, your Gray Girlfriend, and welcome to the Gray Girlfriend's Guide to Life podcast. First, let me say that I'm so happy and grateful that you're here with me. Out of the more than 3 million podcasts available, you chose this one, so thank you. This podcast was created for high-achieving women, real women who face and conquer real challenges, real women who are ready to take their lives to the next level. Between us all, we've been through it all, and I'm here to tell you, you can thrive despite it. So whether you're commuting to or from work or doing one of the other 50,000 things you do on a weekly basis, pop in your earbuds, my friend, and let's go. Today's episode is part 2 of Put Me in Coach, and it is entitled Lead the Way. We have a special guest today. It's Annie Lau of Create Transformation Coaching. Annie is a great friend and a wonderful coach, and you're going to love her. So sit tight. Annie will be right here. Annie Lau is in the house, everyone. Annie's in the house. So Annie is a career and leadership coach, and I brought her on today. She has lots of great things to share. So Annie, I'm just going to start. I want you to share a little bit about your background and what inspired you to become a career coach, particularly for professionals in engineering.
Totally. First of all, Amy, thank you so much for having me on your podcast and really talking about one of my favorite topics, what better ways to actually spend some time with friends. So, with me, about my background is I began my career in engineering. I have a degree in electrical engineering, and I've been lucky in always being in product development. I did electronics. So it's fun, it's geeky, and I loved it, all of it. And it gave me really a strong foundation in problem solving and system thinking. Now, over time, we're almost 30 years of this, and I realized, technical skills are really essential. The most successful professionals are those who navigate challenges beyond the technical stuff, like leadership, career pivots, or, workplace dynamics, right? And so I became a career coach because I really saw that gap. Engineers, very often, because myself and one, excel technically, but we struggle with career strategy. So I wanted to bridge that gap and help them achieve the personal and professional fulfillment that everybody's looking for.
Okay. So what drew you to coaching engineers specifically?
Part of it is because I am one. The other part of it is there's a huge gap, especially in some ways in the women engineers, right? Mm-hmm. But when I first started, there wasn't as many. 30 years in, we have more female graduates in the technical field, but still like the percentage of women professionals in the technical field is still very much less. We think we caught up and we have not. And part of it is, I think some of the stuff that we need help in terms of coaching and mentoring with for people to grow, whether it's men or women, right? It's often not there. Companies don't make that the priorities in terms of growing internal talent. And I focus on engineering part of it because I just relate to them so well over the years, right? And, inside the companies that I had the privilege of working in, obviously being a technology leader, I have engineers reporting to me, but I also draw people from marketing, from sales, and, from project management. So all sorts of field inside the company will end up seeking me out. But my first love is my first love, which is technology, right? People in technology. I love their brain. I love their drive. And so much of them just really has the desire to excel. And it's not just about your effort, right? You also have to be smart about it.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. What are some of the biggest career challenges you've noticed female engineering professionals face today?
I think some of the challenge really is transitions. So when you start in your engineering career, if you're lucky, you're starting in engineering in your field of study. And as you sort of get better, people give you bigger projects, technical projects. But then eventually many of them sort of shifts into a supervisory leadership role. And usually that's a transition that really catch people. Overcoming your imposter syndrome, navigating fast-paced technology challenges, Also, a lot of engineers struggle balancing their textbook technical expert needs with the need for soft skills like communication, strategic thinking. What do you need to do to step through the career that you're looking for? And what exactly is career advancement? Nobody talks about it, right? Nobody helps you map it out. And so those are also very common challenges that are present here today.
Okay. So how would you describe your coaching style and what makes it particularly effective for engineers?
My coaching style is really pragmatic and it's action oriented. Engineers appreciate structure. So I create a very clear step by step plan to help them tackle their career challenges. I also push them to reflect and think beyond the technical. It's really helping them to grow in areas like leadership, emotional intelligence, personal reflection, and personal development.
Okay. So you emphasize pragmatic, solutions oriented approach. So can you explain what that looks like in a coaching session?
Yeah. It really means starting with a very clear goal in mind. When we ask people, what do you want? That's a very generic question. I'm sure you have those experiences and people go, well, I don't really know, right? So part of coaching there is really help you define what you want. And once you sort of get to that point, you start having a goal and you break those goals down into actionable steps. So, for example, if a client wants to transition into management, we'll map out like the technical and the non-technical skills that they need for that particular job they're looking for, right? Build potentially a timeline and really practice, right? Real world scenarios. Like if you've been an individual contributor, how do you lead a team meeting to showcase your skill set? And so my sessions are practical, not theoretical. And engineers love that.
Okay. I like what I'm hearing. So what other challenges do female engineering professionals face?
I like to meet my clients where they are, and everybody's a little different. So if it's a technical challenge that's holding you back, like adapting to a new technology or managing complex projects, we would address those, right? But I also help people zoom out to get the bigger picture. To see this is kind of the area of strategic thinking. Now, how do their decisions today align with their long-term goals, right? So you're playing both a long-term game and a short-term game. That's very often a challenge that any professional face today is what do I do today? Mm-hmm. And if I do this today, is it going to get me what I want down the line?
Okay. Do you find that female engineers face any other challenges that male engineers don't face?
I would say one of the things that's often downplayed, and I will have to admit, I'm not quite sure if this is also not necessarily a more universal gap, right? So female engineers do things well. I mean, like we just often are taught that we have to be twice as good at something, right? Mm-hmm. And the twice as good at something usually is the skill sets that we see. But often the skill sets that we don't see is this: how do you actually think strategically? How do you align values with the stuff that you're saying? How can you believe and communicate, right? Tell the right story so that you can engage the entire audience. The other piece that's really interesting for a lot of female engineers is that this financial acumen piece that is really required as you move up the leadership scale. Okay. That's usually one of the biggest pieces.
Financial acumen. Mm-hmm. All right. So I know that engineers value data, structure, or systems thinking. So how do these things play into how you coach?
It really is foundational to my approach. I like to use tools like frameworks, roadmap, measurable outcomes to ensure progress, right? This is the heart of what a project management system looks like. I often say that career is like designing a system. It needs input, which are your skills. It needs a process, which is the strategy. And then the output, which is your results, right? And engineers really immediately connect to the structure way of thinking. This is how they're brought up. This is a system approach. And at the heart of a system is that these are all transferable skill sets and mappings.
Okay. So someone could hire you who's not an engineer is what I hear you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I definitely resonate more with people who are more logical on the side of stuff, right? And so, but there is also, for example, I've coached people who are in marketing, graphic designs, right? Even though these tends to be the more you would consider artistic side of business, there's a side of a logic that actually is inside of everybody. And I would work with what that piece of themselves and actually help them see out a system. I think if you think about there's a phrase that says where it's really about if you put your attention to something, then something will happen, right? And
Yes,
so you
yes.
want to be intentional about something. And to me, I translate intentions into actionable step in the system and the framework. So I try to even mingle some of the maybe potentially people say the more touchy-feely type of words. I can map them into something that is breakable, actionable step by step.
Love it. Love it. I love when you said it's transferable. I think that's really important because at the end of the day, our progress needs to be measured, right? We need to have clear goals. We have a measure for those goals. And I love that what you do is transferable among industries. So, Annie, what do your clients say is the most transformative part of working with you?
I think they often say that I help them gain clarity. That is really the biggest piece. We are often overwhelmed in all sorts of areas, right? And so I take on overwhelming problems, like deciding whether to change a job. Do I ask for a promotion? Do I not ask for promotion? Do I take on bigger projects? Or really just for that big job promotion, right? And the idea is when we take on these things, we think this is a massive, massive problem. And we stare at it and we freeze in our step. I don't know what to do now. I mean, like, I really want it. I have that desire. I feel I want this, but now I don't know what to do. And so I help people break these ginormous goals into very, very small, measurable steps in such a way that it actually allows you to build that confidence to actually take action. And client loves that, right? Because now I can actually do something. And doing something is what will get you results of some sort, right?
Right.
Then you can measure and say, do I really want to continue down this path? Do I not to? But without action, you won't get results. Without results, you can't have measurements. And so these things sort of tie in a string of action. And then I help hold clients accountable while respecting their own process because everybody is an individual and they move differently.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So can you share a success story or an example where your coaching helped a technical professional or an engineer achieve a breakthrough?
Sure. And so one person that I helped was a brilliant software engineer who felt stuck in a role and unsure of how to advance, right? She was doing the same program and she was doing it well. And in some ways, she felt like I did my job so well, I kind of was competent myself out of a promotion advancement, right? So it's
Yeah.
very interesting mindset. So through coaching, we identify what her leadership potential looked like and worked on different soft skill like communication. How does she present herself, right? Presentation skill, presenting confidence without feeling like an imposter. And then how she use those skill sets to help her decision making. And so within about 6 months, not only did she earn a promotion to the team lead, but then the biggest part is it helped her feel more confident in saying that if I'm clear about my goals and I can align them, right, with what my ultimate thing is in life, I can get to that.
Okay.
I have a win.
You sort of tidy up the filing cabinet, right?
Yeah, I love
Take
that.
all the files in the filing cabinet of their mind and help them see clearly what they want.
Absolutely. And what's also important is, the great things about the time that we live in is sometimes when we say no, often when we say no, we're saying no to something that's really good, right?
I agree with that.
You're like, and so it's hard sometimes to make that decision to say no to something that is good. So part of that coaching process is really help people to understand what prioritization means. And if you were to say no to something, it doesn't mean that you're saying no to it forever. Like we have this very black and white way of thinking. Well, for engineers for sure, right? Like very black and white way of
Yes.
thinking. And we say, if we say no to this now, one, it will never happen. We're just so definitive about this. But there's so much flexibility in life that part of what becoming a leader is being able to hold that flexibility and that ambiguity. So you have to grow in those skill sets. You have to make little gestures towards that growth. And coaching really, my style of coaching really helps people grow into that.
Love it. Okay. So for clients who want to advance their careers, how can you help align technical skills with career goal?
What's most important is I start by having a conversation, get to know the client to understand what their core value, right? You hear that word all the time. We probably don't have time to get into what that really is. But a core value really is something that will excite you. Like, on your worst day, you will come back to that, right? Mm-hmm. So that core value is what really drives you, what excites you the most. Once we know what that is, from that point, then we explore how some of those passions and your core values can be leveraged into leadership or an advanced role. And do those things make sense in the roles that you're talking about, right? Because we're job matching in a lot of ways, both in your desire and what the opportunities available. And so, for example, if someone loves problem solving, right, we help them to see what the skills apply to in leading teams or setting strategy, because problem solving is not just about fixing technical problems.
Gotcha. Okay. So for someone who feels stuck in their engineering career, what's your typical first step in helping get them unstuck?
One of the things I ask them is, describe to me what stuck means.
Okay. That's a good question. Yes.
Yeah. Because for different people, I'm going to give you a couple of examples, right? Stuck could mean they're bored. Stuck could mean that they feel that they have lack of growth, both maybe personally or professionally. Stuck could mean that, what they do, they're not aligned with the company value, with the products they're touching. So stuck is a very generic word. It's a sensation we feel. But, with that feeling, there has to be something that's a little more tangible that we have to translate into. And we have to make that hook or that connection to the particular client that we're speaking with. So once we identify that root cause, then we can get on to, well, what's the next thing, right? Then we can help you set goals, create roadmap, and then we go on to the standard framework, right? Once we identify what it is that we're really talking about, now you really know the problem. Once you have the problem, you could start sort of crafting a solution for what you want and move forward from that point.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, in one of our conversations, Annie, you mentioned that many pragmatic people don't consider reflective practice a key influencer to their career growth. And I was wondering, could you expand upon that?
Yeah. So in my world coaching, right, personal growth is really just another problem solving area, right? So for example, improving on communication is about identifying gaps and testing solutions, right? So for a engineer, like a software engineer, it's just like debugging a code. You wrote something, you tried it, didn't work. Well, how come it didn't work? You go to the area, you think this is the problem, you go change something, and you have to try it again. So by using a very familiar process, I help people see that reflection and soft skills, one, are tools that they can master. So the key here is you need those things in order to advance, right? If all you need is to be locked away in the corner, come up with a technical solution, I think this is kind of 50 years back in terms of what engineers do. Nowadays, products are brought forth by teams. You're working with people. And so those skill sets, whether you want to develop them or not, they have to be present. And if you want to advance in your career, even if you're just sticking onto a technical role, those skill sets have to be refined as you move along. And so the key here is a mindset shift, right? It's not about forcing you to think about the opposite, like I have to get better. I'm terrible at soft skills. I have to get better. Here, what you have to do is align with what you actually want, with the person you are, right? With who you are as a person, and how those two things combine to do what you need to get what you want, right? Okay, so This is about, sounds a little self-serving. I think this is actually a person being intentional, being super intentional. And so when you reframe your personal growth as another problem, then there's a way to problem solve that, right? And you're solving this problem because this is a problem that's worth solving for you.
Gotcha. Correct me if I'm wrong. You help them see what it is they want, and then you help them get to that version of themselves that will get them there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Because when you want something, right, the best way to get something done or have something is really to be fully embodying your I am that person.
Exactly.
Right. So rather than thinking, I'm just gonna play a role, I don't really believe in it. You could do it. Sheer willpower, you could do all of that. But would you be fully integrated in that sort of thought process? Would you be truly happy? My guess is it probably wouldn't sit quite right with you, right? So you want to be full alignment with these kind of changes because the change then sticks.
Gotcha. Embody it. I think that's the word, embodiment.
Embodiment, absolutely.
All right. So, Annie, what is one misconception that technical professionals tend to have when it comes to career coaching, and how do you address that?
Yeah, this is so prevalent, right? And really, it's for everybody. I think for people who are competent, we don't ask for help. So many people believe coaching is only for people who are quote unquote struggling, right? And I explained that coaching is really for anyone who wants to accelerate their growth. Let me repeat this. This is coaching is for anyone who wants to accelerate their growth. So even for high performers, they will benefit from a coach, right? Providing perspective, challenge their thinking, and holding them accountable. And this is the way that I tell people, you'll hear people say it's your best investment that you want to make for yourself. Absolutely, right? But for me, just like investment is good, but I'm a I'm a go-to. I want that something person and I want to get it however I can fastest get it. And so for me, I think about acceleration.
Gotcha. Acceleration. All right. So, how do you help technical professionals navigate those non-technical challenges like building those necessary soft skills or managing workplace dynamics? Because you know what lots of personalities in a group, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, first, I don't want to sugarcoat this. Soft skills takes work. It takes work. And soft skills, Brene Brown had mentioned it before, soft skills are hard, right? We think, soft skills probably has the wrong way to describe it. So I treat these challenges, again, like any technical problem. Define the issue, right? If I have a particular dynamics that has been very, very hard for me to manage inside of my team, what about it is hard? What's my piece? How am I reacting to that? So we observe the setup and then we analyze the different factors. And once we understand all the different pieces that are at play, then we can create a solution. So I'll give you an example. If a client struggle with giving feedback, right? One, we kind of ask the question, well, what about feedback makes it difficult? Is it about you giving feedback? Is it about you receiving feedback? What exactly is sort of the many different layers behind I have a hard time giving feedback? Right. So, because once we know what that is, we could help with some of the mindset that's behind it. Then we get down to the nitty gritties. We create role play conversations. I actually develop scripts with my clients and we practice those interactions until it feels more natural. And it will be hard. You will have to do this over and over. And then, we do a session, we role play a session, we develop scripts. The client goes and deliver with that particular situation. And we come back and do a debrief. So what's great about coaching is that you have someone who's completely objective about the conversation. I'm not saying you did well, you shouldn't have said this, you shouldn't have said that. It's just we role played out. Where do you think it went well? And how did you feel? How would you like to do it differently? And how could we create words for you so that it's in your back pocket? The next time this situation happens again, you go, oh, I can say it this way. So this is the tool belt that coaching really will help you develop in a lot of these soft skills.
I love that you actually give them words to say and that you role play that. I think that's very important. We know how our mind works, right? our mind learns by repetition. It responds to the words and the images we install. And then, we make our habits and then our habits make us. So I love that what you do just fits in beautifully, or dovetails, I should say, into how our mind works anyway. I do similar things with my divorce clients especially when they're divorcing someone who has narcissistic tendencies. They don't know the words to say to them when the spouse tries to start a fight. And I'll literally say, well, say this, say this, say this. And same way with anyone who comes to me for RTT, and you're well aware of RTT and how it starts with believing you're enough, right? So I give everyone a very simple exercise and to say, put 3 words on your bathroom mirror. I am enough. And it's very interesting, but I mean, in a sad way, where some people feel like they can't do that. They have to explain themselves as someone else in their home. And I'm like, well, this is what you say to them. I didn't hear that enough when I was growing up. So I'm telling myself that more now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it works.
Right. Like, what you just said was so beautiful, because in the same thing that I do is like, we help prepare for what potentially people will say back to you when you do this. Right. And you could say this, you can say that. And I am sure you do this with your client also in both arena is, how would you think you would feel at that moment, right? Because you want to be a master of, you will always feel. Feelings are not bad. You will always feel. And so when you have this chance of role play, when you have someone that says, you could say this, you might feel this, but that's okay, because we know that the feelings are natural. You can keep on saying this. You don't have to overthink, right? This is the phrase you will say. And we will build up that practice, build up that confidence, and eventually you embody those words.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So great.
I know. So Annie, what advice would you give female technical professionals who are considering leadership roles, but they're hesitant to step away from their technical work?
Oh, that is such a great question, right? Because I personally have struggled with that when I was shifting, into more leadership roles. What I have learned, and this is really school of hard knocks, is that leadership doesn't mean that you abandon technical. Absolutely not. It means that you leverage your technical know-how differently. So I encourage, again, clients to think about leadership as they are scaling their impact, right? Because it's no longer just you working on a project or you were co-working it with everybody else. You have influence over bigger structures, bigger architectures, bigger teams. And so this is a different kind of problem solving on a different kind of scale, but you are basically using your technical know-how to enable your entire team to solve many more problems.
Ooh, love it. Okay. What are the key skills that female technical professionals need to develop if they want to move into management or into the C-suite positions?
Absolutely right. I think this is generic in what I'm saying, but typically the top skills are communication, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and financial acumen. And many people are already great at problem solving, and management is about solving people and process problems, but it also requires empathy and vision, right, in order to accomplish that.
Okay. And you mentioned before that, if I'm not mistaken, that there's a bit of a gap for female engineers when it comes to financial acumen. Did I understand that correctly? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned financial acumen. It's such a big topic sort of in my sphere because no one ever told me that was important until I was told I needed that. And it was really, really late in the game. Then I started, but of course, right? I got a problem. Let's solve it. And as I dug into it and I spoke to more people, it really became clear that financial acumen is one of the it's absolutely a requirement when you want to step into a leadership role. But many female technical professionals aren't told that they need this.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm not sure if you mentioned this earlier in this interview or another conversation we had where, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that strategic thinking, that female engineers need to really be great at strategic thinking. And did I hear you correctly, or did I just?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that's another big skill set. And it was a great conversation that we were having because you ask, Wait, I thought women are pretty good at strategic thinking already.
That's it. Yes. Because, we're born with flow charts in our head. We know before we get home, we have to pick up the milk and the dry cleaning. And oh my God, we need dog food too, right?
Right. So that was such a great conversation. But the heart of it is, here's the thing, right? And I said the 4 things: communication, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and financial acumen. If you think about it, women usually are pretty good with communication and emotional intelligence. It's just the skill sets that, especially if you're intentional about continue to grow, totally awesome to just get better and better, right? And so, but strategy and financial understanding of the entire picture and landscape, that whatever the thing that is they're working on is super important, right? Because there is a difference, and this is a personal experience, that there is a huge difference in my world between strategic thinking and project management. And when you were talking about, hey, women, we know how to get things done, right? We got flow charts in our head. Here's the beginning. Here's the next step. Here's the next step. Every next step is super, super good about accomplishing many, many tasks. But the difference between those two is strategy is about the why and the what. It's about envisioning the bigger pictures, setting long-term goals, and identifying opportunities and challenges that align with all of those overarching, objectives. But project management operates on a narrower and more immediate time frame, right? Boom, 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 boom. Let's get things done. What do I need to do at the end of the school day? What do I need to do at the end of the week, right? It concerns itself with the how and the when. How do I do this? When do I have to get it done?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the difference, right? Strategy is about the why and the what. Why do I want to do this, right? What potentially what I need to do, what I need to do, right? Then you get down to the project management part is how would I get it? When would I get it done?
Love it.
I would say many women seem naturally great at project management.
Okay.
So, however, strategic thinking, that's, it's a generic statement, requires a little more reflective practice to be able to zoom in and zoom out.
That's your 35,000 foot perspective.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
There we go. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So how can female technical professionals build resilience in industries that are, constantly evolving with new technology and trends?
Right. So building resilience in industries that are constantly evolving basically boils down to staying curious and adaptable. So allowing for the fact that something you knew to be like 100% true may not be true anymore. Sometimes that's a little hard on the ego, right? But that's what curiosity really means, right? Allowing for a potential to having a different answer and different outcome. Things are not always the way it is all the time.
Man, that's life. When you're talking, I'm thinking, oh my God, we have to do that in life, right? Be curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be adaptable. Yep. Roll with it.
Right. And so, you want to view, and I'm sure you've come through a lot, especially with your divorcing clients, right? Changes at the heart of it, at the end of the day, right? After you roll through the roller coaster, you view changes not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow. So when you encounter something you don't know, when you encounter something that you don't like, it's really not a sign of I'm inadequate. It's if you have the mindset of saying, this is a space for me to expand and learn. This is the most powerful mindset shift that's possible when you're in the space of change, right? Instead of thinking about, oh, I don't know, I'm not capable of doing this. And you reframe it to, I did get to grow new things and develop new skills. And cultivating this kind of perspective absolutely fuels resilience. And it turns challenges into opportunities.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you get them to focus on the outcome they want, not where they are in this moment, but what they want to see happen. I know with my divorce clients, I tell them all the time, this is not your life. Yes, this process is daunting. It's overwhelming, but this is not your future. This is you unwinding your past, right? This is getting that the vine around your leg that has been dragging you back for all these years. Focus on the future.
I love that. This like you kind of go, there's a bit of the past. It's having an effect on the present, right?
Right.
But We're going to spend some energy into the present, untangle some of those things. But why are you untangling? Like, if you're happy with it, you don't need to untangle anything, right? It's because we want a future self. Like,
Yes.
this is what we want. So we're spending the effort and the energy to untangle this because we know by doing the work, we could get to that other awesome future picture of how we are, who we want to be, who we are with, and what we're doing.
Awesome. All right, Annie, what's one piece of advice you wish that every female professional would take to heart about their career development?
Oh, yeah. Don't wait for someone else to steer your career. Just be proactive, right? We all want to do a good job, and we think when we do a good job, someone will come and says, Annie, good job, Amy, good job, right? And sometimes that happens, sometimes that does, but don't wait for someone to tap you on the shoulder, right? So whether it's seeking feedback, learning a new skill, setting clear goals, taking ownership is always the fastest path to growth.
I love it. I think boldly go. I was a big Star Trek fan. Well, I
Yeah.
still am, but the next generation, was Jean-Luc Picard, who, by the way, I think should have his own management school. He's so bright. But the way he always says, boldly go. And that's what I tell my RTT clients, now we understand why you think like you think. We've rewired your thinking. Now boldly go into your future. Boldly
Absolutely.
go.
Yeah.
So why do you believe coaching is a game changer for engineers, even those who feel confident in their career right now?
Yeah. One of the things that coaching has done, because a coach is your partner and they come into your space and they objectively help you see stuff around you, right? So that you're not so entangled on your current situation, your current environment, the different influence that's happening on your life. So coaching really, really helps you see the blind spots. And when you see those blind spots, you now have the ability to unlock new possibilities and then we also help you stay accountable, right? You say, I want this, but lots of people say, I want this for the last 10 years and nothing's ever happened, right? So a coach absolutely helps you do that. We encourage you, we help you accountable, we help you dig as to why you say you want it, but something is not happening.
Okay.
And so even if you're confident, a coach could help you move faster. Right? We could talk about this acceleration of your career. We help you think bigger and then just achieve more than what you currently thought is possible.
Okay. Now, if someone's on the fence about hiring a career coach, what would you say to them to help them understand the value of coaching?
Yeah. So imagine you have someone in your life who is a dedicated partner with the sole focus of helping you achieving your goal faster and with less stress.
So you really do make it all about them.
Oh, yeah.
So they can say, it's all about me, Annie. It's all about me.
And it is absolutely all about them. Right. And so that's what a coaching offering looks like for me, which is tailored approach to who you are, what you want to achieve, right? Because you have unique challenges and aspiration. And that's what a dedicated partner will look like.
Okay. So what can someone expect from you as a coach from the very first meeting?
As a coach, I focus on creating a foundation of trust, clarity, and direction. And we would try to do that in every single meeting. So you get that from the get go. That means being an excellent listener to the person that's in front of me. And by listening deeply, I create a welcoming and safe space, right? My ability to stay objective with the information that you share with me is key to cultivating that trust and safety environment. And so I will take the time to what's happening, what's unique in your situation, your professional background, what brought you to coaching, what are you hoping to achieve. So I listen not just to what you're saying, but also what might lie beneath the surface as well. So together we will clarify short-term and long-term goals, whether you're pursuing career transition, leadership development, or overcoming very specific challenges. Will help you articulate also what success looks like, right? At the end of the session or the end of this coaching engagement, because again, it is all about you and it's all about what you want it to look like.
And I will say, everybody, Annie is an excellent listener. Every time I've ever spent time with Annie, I leave feeling heard. I got to tell you, I feel heard.
Oh, thank you, Amy. You are as well. I think this is the reason why we collaborate so well, right? From the first get-go, when we started to sort of understanding that we're kind of in the same space, there was never a sense of competition, that the kind of services that we provide are very complementary to
Definitely.
helping anyone, right? Move forward. So I love that we're having this conversation.
Thank you. I will say the difference in case people don't know that what I do, RTT looks at the why someone thinks what they think about themselves. Because what we tell ourselves about ourselves impacts all our decisions, right? So if someone feels stuck or they're procrastinating or they don't feel worthy, they lack self-confidence, RTT helps look at the why. What created that? Then it rewires your thinking. And as I've said, Annie, to you and to every other coach I know, this is it. This is the dynamic duo of accelerating your life, right? Deal with what I call your emotional shit from the past with RTT, and then get yourself a coach who gets you to that place you want to be, because you enter that coaching session already understanding yourself. You don't need to explore. Why do I think that? You already know. It's already been corrected. So,
right. Yeah. And, coaching really is forward, right? We're looking at what do you do moving forward? We're looking at the forward motion of it. And I love that RTT could just sort of come in and go, yeah, you have this fundamental thing that has been, pulling you back, right? So once you can resolve that, because you've been operating like that for so long, a lot of people are like, okay, I feel better now. So what's next? What do I do? Right. So the great there is it's almost like a relay game, right? A coach can come in and assist that client to go, all right, you feel a particular level of a high. Now we take that energy, we continue to grow it, move it along, get you what you need, set your goal, that next business, that next whatever that thing is. And I love the synergy in that.
Me too. When you know you're enough, there is nothing you can't do, right?
Yep,
when you know you're enough.
When you know you're enough. Yeah.
Where can listeners go to find out more about you and how to work with you?
They can go to my website. My name is Annie Liao. It's ANNYLIAO. You can find me on LinkedIn. My website is called createtransformationcoaching.com.
Spell that.
Create, CREATETRANSFORMATION coaching, COACHING.com.
Create transformation
coaching.
Is there an S on transformation?
Yes.
Oh, create transformation coaching.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Annie,
absolutely.
This has been such a pleasure. I could talk to you all day. You know that. We'll have to get together soon and talk all day. But
absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on. And hey, Merry Christmas. I guess by the time this is aired, though, Christmas will be over and we'll be into the new year. But
perfect timing for a new coach.
Exactly, right? There's a method to our madness, honey.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. I'll talk to you, Annie. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Amy. Did you know that what we tell ourselves about ourselves impacts every decision we make? Every decision. So if you're feeling stuck in any aspect of your life, RTT can help. Want to know more? Go to amyblairlawson.com or click on the calendar link in the show notes to schedule your complimentary 30-minute consultation. Oh, one last thing. I can't forget the legal stuff. You know what I'm talking about. The language a lawyers write that I have to read to you. Well, here it goes. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While I am a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a certified divorce financial analyst, and a licensed investment advisor, this podcast is not intended as a substitute for a private session or a consultation. Got it? All right. Until next time, wishing you peace and plenty of all good things.